Hi, it's me again, Callum. I'm back after a long rest and here I am doing the handover on the C656 VIP Chausson. So coming down at the driver's side of the vehicle, first point you get to is your mains connectivity point. So you get your hookup lead, lift the flap, lift it on here and slide on. Always hook the vehicle up first, then to your power source, and obviously do it in reverse when unhooking the vehicle. And then to unhook, there's just a small blue lever on the left hand side. You'd push down and then lift the lead out. This locker here is called your Technibox locker, and all the locks on the motorhome open with this key, and all the locks on the Fiat Ducato chassis open with that key. So once you've turned your key, you can push both in and release the locker. This side you have your freshwater fill up. So what I'd do is I'd go and buy a hose pipe with some hose connections, because it's just a brass tap, so you need the hose lock and the screw on. Keep them with you in the motorhome, and then if you want to fill on site, you just put your hose into there and fill until it either overflows, until you're happy you've got enough water on board, which you can see on the main control panel, which I'll show you once we're on board. But say you had a full tank, obviously you will take a full tank if you're wild camping, but if you aren't wild camping, you'll tend to just travel with 20 litres. So you've got a full tank and you're ready to move to your next site, or you're ready to go home, and you want that little bit of water to use the toilet and stop off for a cup of tea, as it's a fair journey. This lever here will drop the water out underneath the vehicle from a full tank to 20 litres. So what you need to do is lift the lever, go in, put the pump on and open the tap, and then that will start spurring out underneath the vehicle. But to drain it off full, or say you wanted to drain it off fully, or you wanted to drain the last 20 litres out, it's up to you. You can either do this and then drain the last 20 litres, or you can just forget about draining the 220 litres and drain the full tank. Underneath the vehicle, this little black bung on the blue pipe is a 15mm plumber's push fit compression fitting. You would just pull that off and that will drain off all the water. This is especially for in the winter. You would pull it off and leave no water in there, as the pipes are just plastic and so are the tanks. If the water freezes, it can crack. So you just pull that off and drain off all the water. On this side you've got all your electrics. So you've got your charger unit, which you don't need to do anything with. That's just for when you hook the vehicle up, it starts charging the leisure battery. 12 volt fuses, so I would go and buy some spares and carry some. And your trips, so if your kettle or your hairdryer or any power source does trip, try here before you try your side post. And then behind the back driver's wheel you have your waste, so you just pull this open, push it in, pull it, and it will drain off any water. On site you drive over a special grid to drop that. And then on the back, if you just twist the locks, you obviously, this is with the bed down, you can push the bed up and get more space. But you do have, it is heated in here by the diesel heater. These are just your silver screens which can go on the outside of the vehicle. It does have carb blinds, but these are great for in the summer to reflect the heat, or especially great in the winter to keep the heat in, as the carbs tend to be the coldest place in the motorhome, as it's not as insulated as well as the body of the van. Carb mat, carpets, and then you do have a tethering point to tie your loads down. But just to use these locks, because it can be quite fiddly at first, you've got a dot on the here and a dot on the actual, so a dot on the handle and a dot on the frame. Dot to dot, then you get your key, your little key. You do a quarter of a turn and a tap. That's locked. And then in reverse, quarter of a tap, releases it, and then you turn it to open the door. You come round the back of the vehicle, you do have your high level brake light, and above that you've got your rear view camera, reverse camera. You've got your two windows for your bunks, and then these bars are if you wanted a bike rack put on to hold your bike. That's where the back panel has been strengthened to take the weight. And then in the future, if you did want reverse sensors fitted, they would go into these little circular point on the back bumper to give it a factory look. Another door for the garage there, and then here you do have your toilet, so again opens with the key. As long as the blade is closed on the bottom bowl of the toilet, you'll be able to lift this orange handle, slide it out and get the cassette out of the vehicle. Slide this up and you've got wheels to drag it when it's full to your site disposal point. Go to your site disposal point, which is normally behind or beside your toilet block. Take the cover off, press this button here which allows a bit of air in, gives it a consistent flow, stops it glugging. Tip it out. Once you have tipped it out, there's normally a tap there. Put a bit of water in, just give it a quick rinse and tip out again. And then if you're using the liquid form of chemical in the jugs and the bottles, you would fill this up and tip into here, and it's good to go back into the vehicle. If you're using the tablet form, you put a pint of water into the cassette and you drop a tablet down the toilet, which goes into the cassette and breaks down in its cellophane wrapper. Do use special motorhome toilet paper for this, as household toilet paper will swell and block the cassette up. Fridge vents, so that's just behind your fridge. You've got your external shower point, so just a cold water feed, and what that does is there's a small trigger gun on the end of a chrome pipe, which I think's above your kitchen in one of the cupboards. Just pops in there, fitting, make sure the pump's on, and you'll be able to hose off the bikes, the boots and the dogs should they've been muddy. But that is just cold water, and there must be water on board for that to work, obviously. When using the water heater on gas, which the switches are behind your passenger seat, this cover must come off to allow the fumes out. So what you do is you push down, put your thumb in the middle and peel off, which allows the fumes out. If you get the red light on there, it means that you've either left the cover on or the gas has run out. But if you've left the cover on, what you need to do is you need to take the cover off, blow into here, which eliminates any excess gas, and then it will light again. But then when you do start travelling or you wash the vehicle, just put that back on. The only place to keep that is in the passenger door pocket. This vehicle, this customer has fitted a gas flow system. Normally it would just come with for a gas bottle, which would be a 6 kilogram propane colour bottle. But then you've got the fill up point here, which obviously you would go to your LPG centre, put your filler on there, it's like a bayonet fitting, pull the trigger back and press the button on the filler until it stops filling, and that is it full. But you would be able to get, should you have a normal bottle, you'd be able to put a normal bottle in here, obviously tie it in with the straps when it's in situ, and in here you've got your tyre inflation kit. So this is a compressor with the tyre repair kit, so only use that if it's necessary. If your tyre has just got a puncture and you can blow it up to get you off and get the tyre changed, don't use the gunk, because once you've used the gunk, then that is the tyre needing replaced, whereas if it's just got a little puncture, you can't get the tyre repaired. You've got a fire extinguisher in there, and then with all Chaussons you get a 25 metre hookup lead. Coming to the passenger door, behind here is your lockable diesel flap. So that opens with the main ignition key, and then you can fill with fuel. And because it's a new diesel engine, for emissions, it's got the AdBlue system. So between the temperature and the fuel gauge on the instrument cluster, you'll get a little exhaust light on there when the AdBlue is needed. Fill up as soon as possible, as if you don't and it gets so low, the vehicle will go into limp mode where it won't go over 50 miles an hour, just to restrict the engine, to stop it from getting any harm to the engine. Or if it goes completely down, basically the engine won't start. So do just fill that up. You can fill it up in drums, or you can fill it up on the pumps now at most petrol stations, as most new cars take AdBlue. It is about a 20 litre tank. And then just inside on the slam panel you've got your tyre pressure, so 5.5 bar or 79.5 psi, and your bonnet release is here. Coming round to underneath the bonnet, so you've got your little catch in the middle there and your stay which goes on here. So first of all, I'll start off with your fluids. You've got your screen wash here. This cover lifts off and your power steering's just here and your coolant there. Brake fluid, engine oil and engine oil dipstick, paint code. Don't go off this one because this is when it was a chassis carb, go off this one. So you've got your chassis number, you've got 3.5 ton gross vehicle weight, 3.5 ton train weight. So should you want a tow bar fitted to this in the future, obviously if you want, this says you can't tow. Some models can, some models can't. What you've got to do is, with all Chaussons now, you've got to order a tow bar through your dealer, and then Chausson will give you a new weight plate and change your COC, so then you would change your logbook to have a tone weight on. You've got your front and back axle weight, and you've got your little HOO number there, which is your build number, which is your unique number to the motorhome manufacturer. So should you have any warranty claims or anything, quote that number and they'll know what your motorhome is and when it was built and what parts were used. But should you want to jump start the vehicle or use this to jump anything else, you'd earth here, and then this cover's normally down. You'd use your key or a screwdriver in there and lift it up, and there's a contact here for a positive to jump start a vehicle. So once you're inside the vehicle, you've got a full-size fly screen on the habitation door as well as a blackout. And then to lock the door on an evening, you would just push this chrome catch in and that's it locked. Then as soon as you released it, that's it unlocked. And then coming to your main 12 volt control panel here, and your Webasto diesel heater above, which I'll get onto in a second. So you've got your master switch, which is your on off here, which is this green on button. If you haven't hooked up, you will be using your 12 volt leisure battery, which is underneath the passenger seat. And if you are hooked up, you'll have your little green dot here to say that you're on mains power. That's when you can then use your 3-pin plug throughout the vehicle. Lights here, which are all then individually switched around the vehicle. You've got your pump, which you must put on if you want to use taps or toilet or shower within the vehicle, otherwise you'll get whatever's in the pipe and then it will just simply drain out. Only put this on should there be sufficient water in the vehicle, otherwise there is a risk of damaging the pump. You've got your owner light, which is above your habitation door, and then these buttons here correspond with these buttons here. So you've got your first one, which looks like a trailer here, so that is your leisure battery reading, and as you can see it's full. You've got the one that looks like a truck, which is your fate engine battery reading. You've got the water one, which is your fresh water reading, and when that either goes to red it needs refilled, or whether it goes to the one below, that means the waste is full and needs emptying. And then if you wanted to dim or brighten the panel, you can just click here, press and hold, and obviously it'll brighten up or dim right down. And then above you've got your diesel heater. So with your diesel heater, you've always got to make sure that you've got a quarter of a tank of diesel or more in the main tank, engine tank. And then what you do is, to start it off, you'd always start it off at full, as this starts the combustion quicker. Give it 5 minutes to start the combustion, then you can adjust the temperature. Don't worry if the lights start flickering when you turn your diesel heater on. That is not a problem. That is because the diesel heater takes such a draw of power when starting up. Once it does fire up, it will then stop the lights from flickering as it's up and it's got the current that it needs. You can have this on when you're travelling as well, so should you have passengers in the back, as this is a 6-berth motorhome, you can have the heating on in the back to keep the passengers warm. In the kitchen area, so on your cooker and your hob, you've got 2 gas rings and 1 electric hot plate, which I'll turn on here. Just do make sure that you haven't knocked that when you've been unhooked and then you've hooked up, and then this comes on and you're unaware of it, because it will shatter the glass with the heat, so do just keep an eye on that. And then below you do have your grill and oven. You might want to take these out when travelling or wrap them up because they can tend to rattle when they're on the road. And always make sure the back of the oven shelf, this part is to the back of it and not the other way around. The flat part must be to the front, as the curved bit at the back stops the tray from blocking the burner. Storage in here underneath the sink and cutlery tray. You've got a 3-pin plug there which will work when hooked up on site, and storage beneath your oven. Above you do have a light which just works by pressing this little black toggle. And then you've got storage above the kitchen area. At the back of the vehicle you do have your 2 single bunks. You've got a fixed top one, but the bottom one does fold up, and then the mattress does just slide behind these bungee cords at the back covering that window, meaning you do get a better storage space at the back. So if you want to travel, you're going on a longer trip and you want to travel with more items on board, bikes, awnings, so on, you can utilise that space when travelling. Got a light here, a reading light. Obviously that ladder does clip on here, and then you've got your little window at the back that's got a fly screen, and then if you pinch them together, a blackout blind, and then to separate the both blinds just pinch in the middle and then open. You just pinch and slide along, opens the back window there. But do make sure all your windows and skylights are shut securely before you do start travelling again. So now in the toilet area with your separate shower cubicle, I'll talk about the toilet first. So you've got to make sure that the pump is on to use the toilet, and then what you'll do is behind the toilet there is a blue button which flushes the toilet. As you can hear, it's flushing, so I'll just show you. So there, you'd flush the toilet first. Always flush the toilet prior to use. Then, like I was saying, if the blade's open, you'll not get the cassette out. You'd open the blade, which will deposit your waste into the cassette. Use the toilet with the blade open. Then you would flush after use, and then you would slide this to the left and isolate the cassette. And then, should it be full, you'll be able to get that out the side of the vehicle, no problem. On this side, you'll get a light when it is full and requires to be emptied. Your bathroom light is this little rocker switch on the side of the sink. You've got toiletry space there, obviously toiletry space here for your toilet roll and various items underneath. Space in here as well for more toiletries, towel hanging rails, and then your frosted window which you just push the catch in. Slide the window out, it'll stay out, you've got to push it all the way up to release it to bring it back in. And again you do have blackout blind and fly screen. Now talking about the shower, so you've got your shower screens here which have got velcro tie backs on for when you're travelling. So if I just unloosen this one, which is behind it is your shower tap. So you've got your shower head and your shower tap. In the winter months when you're not using the vehicle, it's always best that you leave all your mixer taps open in the middle position. And you remove your shower head from your shower hose. As you can see, it's got quite a loop in there, so any water that was in there could potentially freeze and bust this, and that's not what you want. So what you do is you would loosen it off, and then you would lie this in the shower tray. And as you can see, you do have a duck board on there, just so it's a bit more comfier to stand on and it bears the weight better in the shower tray. You can just remove that when cleaning, but if you're going to store anything in here when you're travelling, you can put it on the duck board as it bears the weight better. But do make sure these are tied back when you're driving, if not they will clash about and you will be able to hear them when you're on the road. But like I said, remove that, and then above you do have a towel rail. This rail is also great if you've been caught walking the dog, or you've been out on a walk and you've got wet or muddy. You can hang your various items up in here, your coats and your various clothing items. And if they are muddy, you might want to hose them off with a shower head. And again, if you're travelling and you're going on a longer trip and you need that extra wardrobe space, there's no reason why you can't put some hangers on here and put your coats and various items on there. Above you've got your V.I.P skylight. So to open, you just turn this. So if you've used the toilet or the shower and you want some ventilation in, you can open the skylight. And then you do have a blackout blind there which just clips in like so. So adjacent to the kitchen you do have your Thetford fridge. So to turn on and off you'd press this blue button, which will then bring the control panel on. So A stands for automatic energy selection. So what that does is it finds what source you have available and it'll pick the best one. So if I take the hook about the vehicle now, it would switch over to gas. If I was to then start the engine, it would switch over to the battery setting. If you didn't want the automatic energy selection, you wanted to manually select, you would just press this square button here and the A will disappear. It goes to gas, goes to battery, goes to gas, goes back. But you can leave it on this, and then should you unhook, it will find the best source available or start the engine. Talking about the battery setting isn't from your leisure battery, so don't think you can just turn up on a site with no electrics and just use the fridge on the battery, because you can't. You would have to use it on the gas. All the battery setting does is if you're lucky enough to keep this at home, or you've been on site and you've got a fridge full of shopping and it's all at temperature and down and nice and cool, what you would do is when you start travelling again, if it was on automatic, as soon as you start the engine it'll get a 12-volt feed and turn this into a cool box. If not, you'd have to put it onto the battery. But if you were keeping it at home, what I'd advise is the day or two before, hook the vehicle up, let the battery charge, put the fridge on the night before, fill it with your shopping, allow it to chill overnight, and then when you are ready to travel, if it's on automatic, like I said, it'll automatically switch over, or you can manually put it on the battery setting. You do have a fridge box there, a freezer box, sorry. So you've got your freezer box and your fridge, and when you are finished using it for the winter, or you're standing it up for a couple of months as you can't use the motorhome, clean your fridge out, take your remaining shopping items out, and then the last thing you want to do is shut the door. So this is where this little blue toggle comes in, so just slide it in the middle, and all you need to do is shut the door and it'll rest on there. And as you can see, that door is not flush with the top, so therefore there's air getting in behind the door. And then next to it you do have your temperature, so you can put, obviously 5 bars being the coldest, but you may have to adjust that in the winter months, as your fridge vents behind on the other side of the motorhome will be getting cold air in, and the fridge will be cold anyway from the back, so you might not want it as high on the temperature. Above it you've got some storage space, you've got your wardrobe next to it, the hanging rail, and a bit of storage underneath the shelf. Underneath the fridge you do have 2 gas taps, one's for the fridge and one's for the water boiler. There'll be various gas taps around the vehicle, but these red taps are for when the vehicle is serviced. Any problems with gas at all, you can isolate each appliance, but I would just isolate the bottle just to be safe. You've got your various items in there which I'll get onto in a second, but here's your TV bracket. So press the chrome catch, it'll slide out. You'll be able to mount your telly on here with screws. At the back you've got a 12-volt point, an aerial point, and a 3-pin plug. Please note the aerials don't come standard on these models. On Chaussons you do have to add them through your dealer. So should you've added an aerial, the aerial point will work. as this one has got an aerial. And then if you wanted to turn this round so the people in the bunks can watch the bed, you just pull this out and turn the bracket round like so. So you just turn it round into the back of the vehicle. Now coming on to in here where all of the options has been fitted by us. So you've got your status TV aerial, so this will be tight. You'd loosen it off should you struggle to get a signal, and you push the stem up through the van and use the toggle to direct the aerial on the roof. But a tip is to look where the other motorhomes and caravans aerials are pointing where you are. But when you travel, you always need to make sure that you've pulled it fully into the vehicle and you've tightened this up, as again you don't want wind to start ruining your aerial. And then here you do have a green light, which means you've found a signal. Should you have struggled to get a green light, obviously turning the aerial, that'll find a signal by the Vision Plus finder there, the signal finder. And then you do have a booster, so you can boost and weaken the signal should it be too strong. At the back you do have a 12-volt point for charging, and then here you've got your meter for your solar panel. So we've fitted a solar panel to this vehicle. Dual charging, so it charges the engine battery and the leisure, and you can see the level which the batteries are at on here. Below, this customer has also asked for a Wi-Fi system to be fitted, so it is just a 4G router which takes a SIM. So it does come with a pay-as-you-go SIM which is in the back, but to be fair, what I'd do is I'd go to your local phone provider, whoever your phone's with. Could be Vodafone, EE, the various different phone providers, and ask for a data only SIM card. Pay monthly, and then whenever you use the motorhome you don't need to worry, have I got enough internet on me Wi-Fi system, as you know, because a lot of people just jump in them on a Friday night and they're off. Hold the camera. And then if I just take the back off, I'll show you where the SIM goes. So underneath the battery, the SIMs just go in here, and then you've got your code here on the bottom there. So when you want to, you go onto your Wi-Fi on your device, and then you'd enter your key code there, which is unique to each motorhome. And then you'd obviously turn it on at the front, and it'll tell you how much internet's left on the SIM and how many devices are connected by this little button here. Underneath the seat behind the fridge on your smaller dinette area, your boiler lives under here. So underneath this panel's where your boiler is, which holds 10 litres of water at any one time. And obviously in the winter you don't want that 10 litres of water to freeze. So what you'll have to do is you'll have to winterize the vehicle. And to winterize the vehicle, like I've said, you'd pull the bung off the fresh underneath the vehicle, you'd open the waste, you'll open all the taps within the van, and then you would come in with no power on and you would do this one last. So this one under this side, so just lift this small panel here. Quite a fiddly job. But next to this pipe, which is for your heating, there is a small blue pipe with a yellow toggle on. Just here, if you just see it there, if you just lift this up, it will drain the water directly underneath the chassis onto the floor. You would leave that up during the time you've got the vehicle standing with no water in, and then when you do come to reuse the vehicle, i.e. over the winter, you would leave it standing up. Then when the spring comes and you want to use the motorhome again, you'd shut all the taps within the vehicle, shut your waste, put the bung back on your fresh, shut here, obviously get your hose pipe, fill the vehicle up with water, come in, put the pump on the control panel, go at the cold side of the tap first. You'll get automatically cold water as it's drawn from the main tank. Go at the hot side of the tap, and what that'll do is it'll draw the cold water from the cold water tank into this 10 litre boiler. So it'll fill it up, it'll cough, splutter, make all sorts of noises until it's a full pressure out of one tap. Once it's done, you've done a tap, do them all, and then the system is primed. But also when I'm down here, there's 2 fuses at the back. These are for your diesel heater. So on the diesel heater dial, there's a green light. When the green light is solid, it means it's fine. It's indicating that there's no fault. Should you have let it go too low on diesel, or there might just be a glitch with it, what you can do is you can reset your diesel heater by just pulling these fuses out of here, turn the heater off, pull them out, push them back in, and then you can restart the heater, and that'll cure your problem. To make your dinette area into beds, this obviously is a single and this one's a double, but what you've got to do is you've got to lift the table up off the rail, and then if you just push this button in, and it halves the leg, and then you would rest the table on these 2 lugs, which will form the bed base. And then once the table is in place below, you would use an infill cushion to go on the top, and then you can remove the back cushions just to give a little bit more space, or you can leave them in as a headboard. This leg on the bigger table is slightly different. It doesn't have a button that folds. You just simply push it in and then screw it off, and you'll release the leg to drop the table down onto these bars here to form the bed base. So once you do have the table down as the bed base, you would then use the cushions to fill it in, which I'll show you in a second. But you'll also pull this extension out here and use the other infill cushion on there, but make sure this end here with the wood on, that's designed to sit on these rails. And then when you've got the cushions in place, so these cushions need to go portrait, not landscape. You might think they will go in their landscape, they won't, as they stick out too far for this cushion to be there. So you need to really squeeze them into this space as they're designed to stay in place when you're sleeping and not jump out. And then you've got the additional seat here, which is obviously the walkway through to the cab. But what you need to do is, there's a wooden board which just sits on top of there, like so it sits on the grooves, which is designed for when you're dining or sitting in the seating space. And then behind there's these 2 bars which pull out just to support this cushion. It is got a hard back anyway, but that's just to stop it from pushing into the cab. And underneath the travelling seats you do have various storage spaces. And then also with the table, when you have this seat in place like I've just shown you, you'll want to give extra table space, so you'd pull small back lever and turn out, and obviously when this table's up as well, it will make a full table. And then just behind the passenger seat, these 2 switches here are for your heating your water. So the top one is Truma boiler, which is gas, and the bottom one is Truma boiler EL, which is electric. So on the top one, you've got 50 degrees of heating your water on gas, off in the middle, and 70 degrees. You must take the cover off to use the gas. And then the electric, you've got the other way, so this other switch has been put reversed, so it's side to side. So you've got 1 kilowatt pushing to the driver's side, off in the middle, and then pushing to the, or should I say, pushing to the passenger side, the top one, off in the middle, and then pushing to the driver's side. You have 2 kilowatts. But if it was really cold and you wanted water quicker, i.e. there was more of you desperate for a shower, you can put the electric and gas on together on 2 kilowatts and 70 degrees, and the water will get hot quicker as it doubles the heating time. But it is just a 10 litre hot water boiler.
It's up that, you know.
And there is a ladder here to clip onto this bed. Obviously it's used as a storage space for the vast different cushions you have for the lounge area, but you can push it up when driving should you have a load up there like bedding and various items that you don't want shooting into the cab if you've got people sat here, if you've got to harshly brake for any reason. So you can push that up, and it also gives you a benefit of you being able to walk into the cab without banging your head or ducking down to get underneath the bed. And the roof light above the lounge just simply winds. Obviously the red here indicates that it's shut. Just wind to open. Obviously make sure all skylights and windows are shut like I've said, and then you do have a fly screen, and on the other side you have a blackout blind. And then now in the cab, which is based on a Fiat Ducato, you do have your handbrake to your right, and then you do have two buttons here which adjust the front of the seat and the back of the seat, so you can have it up further if you're a shorter person, or if you're quite a taller person you can push it down so you can get into the cab. On the passenger and driver's doors you've got Remus cab blind, so you'd pinch, always slide the front down first, and then it'll just click magnetically into there, and the same that side. And then you've got the same on the cab windscreen, so they'll just clip in. But with the cab windscreen one, if it's going to be windy night, I'd put something around the handles in the middle just to stop them pinging open, as it is just a magnet. On the door then you do have your driver's and passenger electric window, an electric mirror adjustment which is the top and the bottom, and then coming down to the right of the driver's wheel you've got your headlight adjustment. This one has got front fogs as well as rear, as it's just normally rear fogs motorhomes have. So there you go, there's your so you click once and your fronts come on, which is a green one just here. You click again and the yellow one comes on, which is your back. You've got an eco button there which will save a bit of fuel, and then you've got your auto start stop cancellation, so if you don't want it on you can have that, but your start stop will only work depending on different factors. So one, the battery must be to full temperature, to full charge, the vehicle must be to full temperature, there must be enough fuel in the tank, and you mustn't have any of your air conditioning unit on. And that's when you can take it out the gear, the lights, release the clutch, and the start stop will cut the engine, and then as soon as you put the clutch back in and go to put it into gear, it will start back up again. You've got your wipers with a trip computer on the end here, which will go through this screen here and tell you your range, your travelling times, your average and instant consumption, and the distance you have travelled. You've got your lights and indicators. Then on the steering wheel you've got mute, volume, hands free, and then this will scroll through your contacts, radio channels, and your USB or Bluetooth audio tracks. 6-speed manual gearbox with lift into reverse, which brings on your reverse camera. This is an accent head unit, which is again is an option from factory. And then just below you've got off in the middle, cruise control on the top, where you'd get up to the desired speed and then press up, and that sets it. And then should you have to press the brake for any reason, you can just press resume on the end, or should you want to cancel the cruise control, you can press cancel. And then on the bottom you have speed limiter, whereas if you push up in ones it'll go up in ones on the speed, or if you press and hold it'll go up in fives, and it indicates just here on what your speed limiter is set at. Coming in the middle, so you do have ASR off, which is another word for turning your traction control off, your hazard lights, locks the cab door, I've shown you how to lock the habitation door manually, and then your heated mirrors, USB for charging and 12 volt, 2 cup holders, temperature on the outside ring, fan speed on the in, must be on at least one or more for the aircon to work, which is this button here. And then you've got your distribution, so where you want the air to go to, and whether you're recirculating air within the vehicle or bringing fresh air in. Now getting on to the accent head unit, which is the F270 unit. These can be updated and do need updating, so if they start getting a bit glitchy or jumping between the sources. It does just need an update, that's what it's telling you. And the update, you'd plug a USB into here and so basically you would download, you go onto the Accent website and software updates, download F720 update onto your USB, plug the USB into here, put the ignition on, and it will load the USB in and the update. Then if you turned it on, so you turn on and off here, this is your volume, and then you've got your various different settings. So you've got navigation, which is Motorhome Pacific navigation, so you click on that and it will load in a second, and the navigation card is just up here. Select the language you want it in, which is, I've just put the card in here, so that's why I'm setting it up. Accept, next. Your voice. Finish. Accept. And then you'll get a map, so you'll see where you are and what road you're on, and then to put your destination in, you would just press here, new route, and you'll be able to put your address or postcode in, or you can search for saved locations or places. If you're keeping this at home, I wouldn't advise putting your address in. I'd put the street or the street before in there, just because if someone steals your motorhome, you don't want them to know where you live. That's the last thing you want to happen. And then above, you've got a paper clip, or if you pull here, you can put your phone in there, put your phone in here and into there, and then you would shut that, and that'll keep that locked in. You've got your radio, which is FM, AM on here, or you can switch to DAB. But if you're struggling to get DAB, you can go to FM. Go to your list here, find your national stations, your regional stations as well. Bluetooth. So if you wanted to stream Bluetooth from your, or should I say music from your phone via Bluetooth, you would click here. But what you would do to connect to Bluetooth is you would find Accent on your device, so your iPhone, your phone, and then connect to it. It'll ask you if the pins match, press pair on your phone, pair on the head unit. It'll ask you then if you want to allow your contacts to be synced. Just press allow, and then whoever rings you will come up on the screen instead of just a number. And of course you can press these buttons down here, which is just a quicker way, so you can go to cam and you have the camera on all the time when you're driving forward. And then of course when you engage reverse, if it's off it will engage. Glove box. Top glove box, which is heated and cooled by the air conditioning, so in the summer when the aircon's on you can put sweets and so on in there to keep them cool. And then just underneath the carb floor here is where the engine battery lives, but there is a jumping point from underneath the bonnet. Leisure batteries underneath the passenger seat, and then just underneath the driver's seat you have a toolbox which has got a jack and a brace and a torn eye in, so this would just pull off and that will just slide out. That now brings us to the end of the handover video. Thank you for watching the handover video on the Chausson C656 2020 model. Should you have any questions at all, feel free to contact Tyne Valley Motorhomes on 01207 272 777, or you can email our sales team at sales@tynevalleymotorhomes.co.uk.